Hello! In this module we are going to learn how to symbolize a new logical concept, and. So let's get going. So remember we have logic blocked Joe, and logic block Joe doesn't know how to reason with if. So he knows if I have these numbers and I've just won myself $8 million, and he also knows that he has those numbers, but he's unable to conclude, to draw the inference that he has just won $8 million. He can't tell that follows that he's won $8 million from these two premises. He's not capable of reasoning with if. But he's not just incapable of reasoning with if, he's also incapable of reasoning with and, as we'll see. So here Joe is in the airport and the bathrooms in the corridor are locked, and so he asks the attendant where they might be, and the attendant says, oh, if the bathrooms in this corridor are locked, then the closest women's bathroom is in corridor T, and the closest men's bathroom is in corridor U. But we know Joe, being unable to reason with if, is unable to conclude that, in fact, to recognize that the closest women's bathroom is in corridor T and the closest men's is in corridor U. You, fortunately, are able to reason with if, and you step in and let Joe know, hey, the closest women's bathroom is in T, and the closest men's bathroom is in U. But unfortunately, Joe is also blocked with and he can't realize that it follows that the closest men's bathroom is in corridor U, and that's the bathroom he's looking for, but he can't draw that conclusion, so you have to point it out to him, and you point out, indeed, it follows the closest men's bathroom is in corridor U, and Joe is very pleased to find this out and heads off to do his business. So there's an inference here which we can call simplification from the closest women's bathroom is in corridor T and the closest men's bathroom is in corridor U to the closest men's bathroom is in corridor U. And we also could have the other inference to the closest women's bathroom is in corridor T is also a good inference. These are both valid inferences. They're both, no matter what, if this premise is true, then it's true that the closest men's bathroom is in corridor U, and we don't need to know anything about bathrooms and men and close and far and corridors to tell that this follows. It's just a matter of how and works in the structure of this inference, which means that this is logically valid. You don't need to know anything about the subject matter. It's because of the form of the inference that no matter what, if the premises are true, so is the conclusion. And so and there are other valid inferences with and we want to capture these in our logical system. And so we are going to symbolize this sentence in this way with T and then that wedge sign and then U. At least that's the informal notation. So we're going to talk a little bit about the grammar and meaning of conjunction for the rest of this video. Conjunction, meaning, and. So we're going to say that this thing, which we call a wedge, is the conjunction symbol. So when we have parentheses P, the symbol Q, parenthesis, then we have what's called a conjunction. And the two pieces are each called conjuncts. So in this case, P is a conjunct and Q is a conjunct, just like we had the idea of an antecedent and a consequent to talk about the different pieces of a conditional. In that case, we had different words because the conditional is not symmetric. The way in which the sentence that comes before the arrow works and the way in which a sentence comes after the arrow, how they contribute to the meaning of the whole thing, to the truth value of the conditional. They do different things, but the P and the Q, they don't do different things. They're both just pieces. This is symmetric, and so we just call them each a conjunct. We want to spell out the grammar of our language explicitly, and so we're going to need to list the symbols. So we have our capital letters from P to Z. Those are our sentence letters, the atomic sentences. We have the tilde or the negation sign. We have the arrow or the conditional. And then we have this new sign, the wedge or the conjunction. And we still have our parentheses for punctuation. We need to say how we form sentences with the new symbol. So we have our old rule that says that every sentence letter is a sentence. Our old rule that says that if we have a sentence, then we can put a negation sign on the front of that sentence and build a new sentence. And then if we have two sentences, then also if we take a parenthesis and put one sentence and then the arrow and then the other sentence and a parenthesis, then we build a new sentence, and the same for a conjunction. So if we put between two sentences a conjunction sign and put parentheses around the whole thing, then we have a new sentence. So the grammar of the wedge or the conjunction symbol, in terms of the way it builds sentences, is exactly the same as the conditional. If you build a sentence with a conditional, you could have built a conjunction instead by putting a conjunction sign where the arrow went, and nothing else is a sentence. So that's the grammar. The meaning of a conjunction, how does it work? Well, so box and circle, well, if the whole thing is true if both pieces are true. So we could write that like this. We could say on that row, when box and circle are true, then the whole thing is true. And the whole thing, meaning and, it means that they're both true, and so the whole thing is false otherwise. So the whole thing is false if box is true but circle is false. The whole thing, the conjunction, is false if box is false but circle is true, and the whole thing is false if both pieces are false. So it's true when they're both true, and it's false otherwise. We need to round this video out by talking about informal notation, because we're going to have some new conventions for dropping parentheses. So let's suppose that we were to build P and Q by taking P and taking Q and putting them together into a conjunction, and then we took R and added it and building a new conjunction. So now we have this big conjunction P and Q and R with a bunch of parentheses. So we could drop that external pair of parentheses with our old convention, but we have a new convention which says, oh, when you have a string of conjunctions, you can drop parentheses around the leftmost one. So you can drop the parentheses around the P and Q. We could also build a conjunction from Q and R, and then take P and build a conditional where P is the antecedent and Q and R is the consequent. So we can drop the external parentheses with our old convention that lets us drop external parentheses, and then we're going to have a new convention that says when you have a conjunction inside of a conditional, whether it's in the antecedent or the consequent, you can drop those parentheses as well. So this, if you look at the bottom there, you think, oh, well, what's the main connective? Is it the main operator? Is it the arrow or is it the wedge? How do I know? Well, we know that it's the arrow because the only way to put the parentheses back is to put them around the conjunction. So to list these, when are the situations where we can drop parentheses? When they're external, that's old. If we have a string of conjunctions, we can drop them around the left conjunct. And then if we have a conditional and inside of it is a conjunction, then we can drop the parentheses around the conjunction. So those are our new conventions for informal notation. It will take a little while probably to get used to those, and there are some parsing problems for this unit. The grammar and the meaning of the conjunction symbol is pretty straightforward. We do need to think more about how the conjunction interacts with negations and conditionals, and that's what we're going to do in our next videos.